Welcome in to the Instant Classic Wrestling Podcast, the only podcast that is always, I mean always, he means always, they mean always, you mean always, she means always, an instant classic.
Danny Dunn! Hi, Jake.
We will see you on the flippity dippity. Oh yeah.
Okay, welcome back to another edition of Juggernaut Retro Reviews, and this is episode number 36 of Juggernaut Retro Reviews, and I am continuing my Wrestlemania reviews throughout the month here, and today we are reviewing Wrestlemania 2, which the last Wrestlemania I reviewed was Wrestlemania 1, which that was a really historic WrestleMania, and this was really historic as well. They were running 3 venues in the same night, which is really unheard of. I mean, the only other company to do like a couple, do like 2 arenas was WCW when they did Starrcade 85. And just because you can do it doesn't mean that you should do it. And which I'll talk about that more in a minute. But before I get started with this review, go follow me on all my social media platforms. Go follow me on Twitter at TheTrueJSB. My link will be down in the description below. And also go follow me on Instagram, TheTrueJSB. And also, if this is your first time ever checking out my channel, smash that subscribe button. That really helped me out a whole lot. And also, go subscribe to the Instant Classic Wrestling Podcast, the only podcast that is always, and I mean always, an Instant Classic. And go subscribe to the TAG Podcast also. They do some good stuff over there. The Average Gamers Podcast. Their link will be down in the description. But yeah, now that we got all my plugs out of the way, let's go ahead and get started with this review. So like I said, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do it. And Vince McMahon, this goes, to a good point. Vince McMahon, he was like, hey, we're going to top WCW what they did with Star. Because basically, this was Starrcade on steroids, this with Vince's spin on things. And that's what Vince's genius ideas came from for WrestleMania. It's just a spin on things. But yeah, WrestleMania 2, it was held from 3 venues. And it wasn't just any random venues. It was probably in the 3 biggest markets. It was in LA. No, it was in New York, Chicago, and LA. So 3 different time zones. The East, you got the Central time zone, and you got, LA out in the West Coast. So you got the 3 biggest markets here. And, that's kind of unheard of, especially at that time in 1986. That is really unheard of to do that. And the total, attendance for the show, with everything combined, was about 40,000, which is not bad at all. Not bad at all for a Mania. And so you have, basically, you have big main events for each show. So, the main event for the New York show was Mr. T and Roddy Piper in the boxing match. And then from the Rosemont Horizon, in Chicago, it was the British Bulldogs going up against the Dream Team. And of course, the big granddaddy of them all, the really big juicy main event was the steel cage match for the WWF Championship. You had Hulk Hogan and King Kong Bundy in that blue steel cage. The infamous blue steel cage. And so that was a big one. That was a big match on the show. But like I said, I mean, I don't really think they should have done 3 different venues because, yeah, at this time, especially right now, I don't think they should even do it during this current day and age. But especially at that time, they weren't really prepared for that, and there was this weird random pauses. Some people didn't know what to do. It was just awkward at some points. When they went over to different venues, and like I said, this is very awkward. But that's just me. But Vince wanted to do that. I mean, like he wanted to take a chance, and he goes like, I'm gonna run 3 venues. We're gonna beat out WCW. They did 2 venues for Starrcade '85. We're gonna do 3. But enough talking about that part. Let's actually go ahead and get started with the actual review here. So, majority of his matches were squash matches, that really had no purpose. But the first match I got kicked off the show was, and this was from the Nassau Coliseum in New Jersey. It had Paul Orndorff going up against Magnificent Morocco. And this match ended in a double countout. Like I said, and it was a really short match also. I mean, it was a decent match for what it was, but like I said, really none of these matches that really had any, build up or any substance to go like, oh, why is this match happening? Like, there was really no reason for some of these matches to even happen. But yeah, it ended in a double countout, so yeah. And then the next match we had was the WWF Intercontinental Championship. On the line, we had Randy Savage, which this was his first WrestleMania, and he was defending it against the Animal George Steele. It's cool seeing Randy Savage on here. Miss Elizabeth, she was very distracting during this match, and George Steele was very distracted by Miss Elizabeth, and that helped Randy Savage ultimately get the win here. It is very awkward match. George Animal Steele, he's very awkward guy. He's very hairy also, very very hairy guy, but he was biting the turnbuckles, which I never really understood that. I'm just really not a big fan of this like mid 80s wrestling right here. Like I'm more into like the mid 90s, the late 90s, more into that type of wrestling, not the mid 80s. But I mean, it was cool seeing Macho Man Randy Savage here on his first Mania and win here. But really, there was, it was just cool seeing Randy Savage, and that's cool he retained. And the next match we had was Jake the Snake Roberts going up against George Wells, which this was Jake the Snake Roberts' WrestleMania debut as well. This is cool seeing Jake the Snake Roberts. He hit George Wells with the DDT. Really short match, squash match. Like I said, a lot of these matches are squash matches. And then we had the boxing match, which this was the main event between Mr. T and in the corner of Mr. T, there was the great Joe Frazier, good boxing legend, and going up against Rowdy Piper, and in that corner was Lou Duva. I can't even pronounce the name correctly, and Bob Orton. It was actually a pretty good main event. I think that was a right decision to end this as on the first hour of the show. That was a good for this to be the main event. And of course, Mr. T and Rowdy Piper, they really had a serious feud going on. They did not like each other. They made this match look as real as it can get and stuff. I mean, some of these, punches that were being thrown at Piper, were kind of pulled a little bit, but still, like, it looked, kind of looked, like a real boxing match. But ultimately, it ended in a disqualification. Mr. T won the match. And of course, Roddy Piper, he's very cocky, he's very trying to run away also. He was, kind of putting water on himself so he could be all slippery. So when Mr. T tried to punch him and stuff, the gloves will slip off of Roddy Piper. So, yeah, but I understand why it ended in a disqualification, because they wanted to protect Roddy Piper. They didn't want to make him lose cleanly, get knocked out, get KO'd. So they just had to ultimately end in a DQ when Roddy Piper pushed over the referee, and then also he body slammed Mr. T, which also you can't do that in boxing. So ultimately he just wanted to go back to Piper wanted to go back to his wrestling roots. So like I said, I mean, it was cool. This match was all right. I understood what they were doing here. And eventually Mr. T and Piper would eventually, kind of put the hat put the what's the word I'm trying to think of? Settle the hatchet between them, like settle the differences and actually become decent, they didn't hate each other as much. There we go. And then now we move on to the second hour of the show, which was held in Chicago, which, a really hard sell for this show was like, basically you're only going to get an hour of wrestling, and then they're going to lower a video screen. And basically that's how you're going to watch the rest of the show. I mean, that's a hard sell, but it was successful. It was really successful here, and it worked. But yeah, so we had the women's championship on the line. We had the Fabulous Moolah going up against Velvet McIntyre. Really short match. The Fabulous Moolah ended up winning. I really don't remember how, to be honest with you. I don't remember how. It was like a minute match, nothing crazy. Yeah, like I said, a lot of these matches are squash matches. And then we had a flag match. We had Corporal Kitchener going up against Nikolai Volkov. Another squash match. I mean, there's not really much to say about some of these matches here. There's some squash matches. I mean, Corporal Kitchener, if I'm saying his name right, Kitchener. He was defending, for like USA, and of course he won, and the crowd was behind him. Back at this time, it's easy to get behind USA or, going up against like a different country. You could do that. But now these days, like, you can't really do those feuds. Like I said, another short match. And then the next match we had was WWF versus NFL Battle Royal. This was like really built up quite a bit. They were marking this like as one of the big main events for the Chicago portion of the show. Because he had a lot of Chicago Bears in this match here. Because, a few months earlier, the Chicago Bears won Super Bowl 20. And, you had like the refrigerator in this match. You had him in here. Who else? Yeah, I mean, you had a lot of Chicago Bears, and you had some other players from other teams. I can't name everybody. Even saw Bret Hart in here. He lasted a long time. He was like the final. It was between Andre and Bret Hart. You even saw Big John Studd doing some good stuff. Big John Studd, he got eliminated by, did he get eliminated by the refrigerator? Or maybe it was the opposite, I don't remember. But ultimately, Andre the Giant won. He was still undefeated at WrestleMania. And the following year, he would go up against Hulk Hogan. That big main event match in the making at WrestleMania. Like, can't talk enough about that Mania match between Hogan and Andre. So that's a memorable match. But yeah, I mean, it was cool seeing, showcasing for Bret Hart in here. And you even had Jim Dangle Neidhart in here. I mean, it was a decent match. I mean, a lot of the Chicago Bears, they got cheered a lot because, of course, it was in Chicago. So I kind of like how they booked this. And then the next match was the main event for the Chicago portion. We had the tag team match for the WWF Tag Team Championships. We got the British Bulldogs going up against the Dream Team, Greg the Hammer Valentine and Brutus Beefcake. British Bulldog and David Boy Smith, they were over. They were hell over in this match here. This was a good match, a solid match here. I mean, and this went longer than the main event, between Hogan and King Kong Bundy, which is crazy to think about. But it did. But the winners of the match were the British Bulldog and Dynamite Kid. Solid match. probably, one of the best matches on this show. And then now we go on to the Los Angeles portion of WrestleMania at the Memorial Sports Arena. First match we started off with is Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and Hercules Hernandez. Cool seeing Ricky Dragon Steamboat. He won by a crossbody off the top rope. It was an okay match. Nothing too crazy. Of course, Ricky Dragon Steamboat, he would go on to have even more great matches at Mania down the road. This next match, I really didn't care a lot for. It was just kind of weird. I just didn't really like it. You had Adrian Adonis going up against Uncle Elmer. Adrian Adonis won. Adrian Adonis, I don't really know too much about him, to be honest, or Uncle Elmer. These two. But Adrian Adonis, looks like he was like dressing up as a woman, which, if you want to go down in the comments, like explain what this whole Adrian Adonis was supposed to be. It was this, I thought it was kind of awkward. I didn't really like it that much. I'm not a fan of this at all. But Adrian Adonis won the match, though. And then the next match we had Terry Funk and Haas Funk. We had the Funk Brothers going up against Tito Santana and Junkyard Dog. This crowd was so behind Tito and Junkyard Dog. And you could tell when Terry Funk and Haas won this match. Yeah, the fans were so behind Tito and Junkyard because they were giving the Funks, they were booing the Funks pretty bad. And it was cool seeing Terry Funk here. I mean, this was another solid tag team match. I enjoyed it. Solid match here. Yeah, but the winners of the match, like I said, were the Funks. And then the next match we had was the main event. This was the Big Daddy. This was the main event right here. We had a steel cage match for the WWF World Heavyweight Championship. And if there's one guy, that you put all your eggs in one basket for, it's Hulk Hogan at this time. So you could go out, you can be sure that he's going to go out there and he's going to make this crowd happy. He's going to provide for this crowd. He's going to do good. He's going to bring in the money, which he did here. So Vince knew what he was doing with picking the right guy here. You kind of had the whole David versus Goliath type of feeling in this match here. I like the blue steel cage, which that'd be cool. I like to see him bring that cage back because, very vintage. I really like it. Hulk Hogan, like I said, he did end up winning the match. After he climbed over the steel cage. He climbed over the steel cage. We even had some blood in this match. King Kong Bundy, if I can talk right now, he got busted open. King Kong Bundy, he was in control a lot during this matchup, but of course, we had Hulk Hogan do his little comeback and stuff in the match. But yeah, ultimately, Hulk Hogan will retain the WWF World Heavyweight Championship. And then, that was the end of the show there. WrestleMania 2. So ultimately, this is kind of a skippable WrestleMania. Like, if you don't want to watch this Mania, I wouldn't recommend going to watch it because this one wasn't really one of my favorites. I'm just, on here coming just to review the show. But if I did have to recommend some stuff to check out, definitely check out the main event. That's a must-see. The main event you should check out. Check out the British Bulldogs and the Dream Team match. That was good stuff there. Also, check out the boxing match between Mr. T and Roddy Piper. Check out Jake the Snake Roberts. It's going to debut Jake the Snake. And also check out Randy Savage's match. And there probably isn't even the Battle Royal. Check out that. So there is some memorable stuff on here. But, you know, I'm happy they haven't done, you know, like a 3-venue WrestleMania for a while. Because, yeah, no. Even this day, like I said, it really wouldn't work. I mean, it would work more this day and age, but still, I mean, Vince wanted to try things, and he did, you know, so I gotta give Vince the props for actually trying to do new things. But yeah, that was my WrestleMania 2 review. Like I said at the beginning of the video, smash that subscribe button if this is your first time checking out my channel, or, you know, super kick, slap it, whatever you want to do. But yeah, smash that subscribe button. And also turn on that notification bell to be notified every time I make a new video. So you won't have to wonder like, oh, when's Juggernaut making a new video? Well, you already know because you already have that notification bell on. And this is your boy Juggernaut saying peace out. And my next WrestleMania review will probably be WrestleMania 7. That's the one I'm going to be reviewing next. And I'll probably review a few more before Mania 38 next Saturday. So we got some more Manias to review. So, which that review will probably be up maybe tomorrow or Friday. I don't know yet. Maybe Thursday. I haven't decided though. We'll see when I do it. But I will talk to you guys in my next